Remember when an asteroid hit the Earth and completely wiped dinosaurs off the face of the planet? Well, do we have some bad news for you. Looking at it logically, that probably wasn't a one-and-done type of event. Historically, these space rocks usually burn up in space and lose a lot of steam before crashing into Mother Earth's atmosphere. But what if this isn't the case someday? What if one day, a giant asteroid becomes dead set on crashing into our homes? Will we meet the same fate as the dinosaurs, or will all our modern technology help us in putting the asteroid in its place? We'll probably have to deflect a space rock someday, it's just a question of when. Now that we've made you aware of the ever so imminent threat of being wiped off the planet by a giant rock, it's time to see whether we can promise a better outcome than our reptilian ancestors. Humanity faces a dilemma regarding asteroids. We've identified many of the potentially dangerous ones, but not all of them, especially the smaller ones. We know there must be a lot of small, undetectable asteroids out there in space. You must be thinking, just forget about the small ones, focus on the big boys. But the thing is that even small asteroids can cause a great deal of damage. An asteroid's potential damage is due not just to its size, but also its angle of impact, its velocity, and its density. According to planetary experts, an asteroid impact is the only natural disaster that can be predicted and prevented. We don't know about you, but an asteroid attack is already starting to sound less and less like Armageddon. Turns out an asteroid impact isn't that much of a concern. There's plenty of ways to either destroy or deflect an oncoming asteroid, but it still isn't a piece of cake. Taking on an asteroid the size of a football field sure sounds hard, which is why scientists are working day and night to come up with alternative scenarios and solutions. Today, we are going to be looking at how we can deter an oncoming asteroid attack. We think it would be safe to assume that NASA will be on the forefront of this battle. So, what would NASA do if an asteroid was heading towards the Earth? Would they send in an army of robots to drill into the asteroid to weaken its structure? Would they use a gravity tractor to nudge the giant space rock off course? Remove its ability for self-sustaining nuclear reactions with hydrogen bombs? One thing that we know for sure is that NASA would try its best to safely destroy the asteroids. This will obviously have to be done with a lot of finesse, minimizing any sort of collateral damage, because you want to know what's worse than one giant asteroid? Millions of tiny meteorites falling from all over the sky like tiny little bullets. Another thing that NASA will have to pay a lot of attention to if they go ahead with destroying the asteroid is that no damage is caused to the satellites present in orbit. That could seriously affect day-to-day operations on Earth. Okay, now assuming that all collateral has been taken care of, how exactly will NASA destroy an asteroid? They would probably launch a spacecraft with a nuclear device or explosives attached to it and detonate them right in front of the asteroid. If that doesn't work, they will probably send astronauts to plant charges on the surface of the asteroid and blow it up from within. And if all this fails, we're doomed. Now we're just kidding. If we are looking at this more realistically, then there is always a chance of the plan going AWOL or failing miserably. What would we do if the asteroid striking the Earth was indefinite? The most logical thing to do in this scenario would be to call the White House to warn them of an impending disaster. The president's office would probably contact other countries to alert them of the situation and ask for help. Get in contact with NASA's international partners, including countries like Russia, Japan, Canada, and France. Make sure they are aware of what's happening. They would send out a warning system to all space agencies worldwide so that they can calculate the asteroid's trajectory and determine where it will hit. That way, they would alert astronomers around the world so that they can track its path. There are no known space rocks on a collision course to Earth that might cause major damage at this time. However, if they detect one, astronomers want to be prepared by conducting tests for possible hazardous asteroids. In March 2019, scientists discovered an asteroid that will collide with Earth in April 2027, according to NASA researchers. Let's turn to a real-world scenario, taken directly out of a training exercise. Imagine that the human race is given 8 years' notice before an oncoming planet-killing asteroid strikes our planet. Could anything be done about it? Scientists, engineers, policymakers, and emergency management experts may address issues and concerns that might come up if such a danger were to be discovered. And of course, any response to such an event must include spacecraft. Space agencies will want to establish two types of missions: one that gathers data and another that mitigates a catastrophe if it becomes clear that such action is required. When planetary defense experts presented this scenario with simulation data, decision makers quickly determined that they wanted to start planning mitigation missions right away, even if these projects might later be abandoned if more information on the hypothetical asteroid's path verified that Earth would be safe. The scientists' team didn't just prepare for this situation, they also scrambled to dispatch a reconnaissance mission to get that data. And the operation has returned enough data for experts to be confident that the asteroid would impact Earth near Denver, Colorado. Again, don't worry about something made up. This preliminary information would allow humans 5 years or less to complete operations intended to avert hypothetical disaster. It turns out that it's difficult to send an asteroid on a new trajectory. Instead, the trick is to slow down or speed up a space rock enough that it arrives at a trouble point in its orbit before or after Earth has already been there. With 8 years separating discovery and impact, planetary protection experts have two options when it comes to the timeline. Kinetic impactors functioning as a stumbling block place a huge spacecraft in the path of an asteroid, it collides with it, and slows down just a little. If your impactor is big enough and catches the asteroid with plenty of time to spare, you can delay it long enough for it to miss the deadly 2027 collision with Earth. There's a problem though. Given the specifics of the imagined scenario, slowing down the asteroid considerably more would be necessary to save oneself than accelerating it. Another cause for concern. If engineers go overboard with these tools, they might inadvertently break the hypothetical asteroid into smaller pieces, making Earth's danger much more difficult to comprehend. Another way is to explode a nuclear bomb above the surface of the asteroid, causing part of its surface to evaporate and the rest of it to recoil. This method is much more adaptable to the many issues that scientists may have about the theoretical asteroid. The impact of certain explosives can be adjusted. One more way to deter an impending asteroid is to build and launch 2 spacecraft that can fly out to the asteroid and orbit it for several years. These probe missions would gather data that planetary defenders would need to control the asteroid attack. Then, using spacecraft in orbit, launch missions to obstruct the asteroid's path and speed it down. The agency thinks that the 2 spacecraft should be armed with nuclear weapons just as a safety measure. No one wants to live in a world where asteroids are running wild, but planetary defense experts believe they are more than equipped to handle such a situation. We hope that this video gave you a bit more confidence that every natural disaster doesn't have to be as dramatic as a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie. But if things were to go south, you can take solace in the fact that there are a lot of well-prepared professionals here on Earth that can deal with things if such a situation does arise. In the meantime, just sit back and relax because life is too short to care about a giant space rock coming and wiping everyone and everything off the face of the planet. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Tap that bell icon to keep up with our latest content. Until next time, bye.